Bitcoin has just seen a massive surge in price to the upside over the last 24 hours. Now, is this a really good bullish sign? Or is it just panic buying before we're going to see a continuation to the downside? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today's video. So like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Three major things we're going to cover with Bitcoin. So let's dive straight in. We are on a daily chart with Bitcoin. And the first thing I want to bring to your attention is CPI, Consumer Price Index. Over the last 6 months or so, Bitcoin has had major reversals around consumer price index. And we want to be aware of this. So even if we go back to July of last year, we can see CPI was on this date and we had a big move to the upside. On August 10th, we had CPI announcement over here, a movement to the downside. September, CPI announcement, movement to the downside. CPI in October, movement to the upside. So these are reversals. CPI in November, a few days prior, we had movement to the downside. CPI in December, movement to the downside. So today, we've got Consumer Price Index, 12th of January, over here. So what are we going to get? Now, we don't know. We can never know for certain, but looking at the past behavior and the way the market's reacted to CPI, has been major reversals. So we've been on the upside for the last few weeks. We're likely to see a movement to the downside. So that's the first thing we really want to pay attention to. Also, the momentum on the daily is overbought. For quite a while now, it's been, nearly 2 weeks? Nearly 2 weeks has been overbought. So that's also another thing we want to take into consideration. The next thing I want to bring to your attention is the major resistance level right now. And it is pretty major. So I'm just going to bring up some data from 2017. So over here is 2017. So this was the 2017 bull market top. And look at where the price is right now. It's in this zone over here. So what typically occurs in most markets is this becomes support. Like when the market's up here, it becomes support. And we can see the market came back down. It became support. It bounced. It broke this level. It broke this level down here. And now it seems to be a resistance. So when we're looking at the market, Bitcoin's got a bit of work to do to break this key resistance zone. Now, if it does, that's a great sign for Bitcoin. But the market being overbought with CPI, we're likely, and we're going to go into a bit more detail in just a second, we're likely to see that Bitcoin is going to struggle to get past this zone over here because it is a major psychological resistance zone. The market's overbought. And CPI today, it could potentially be really positive and it breaks this. If it does, then we can reevaluate the market position. But the likelihood is we're probably going to see a movement to the downside. So today I'm looking to stand aside and see how the market responds to consumer price index. Last but not least, we're going to dive into an hourly chart with Bitcoin. So this is the last 24 hours. And what I wanted to bring to your attention was here. We had this massive surge in price, right? Is that a bullish sign or is that panic buying? So more often than not, markets move in 5s and 3s. So typically it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where wave 3 is the extended wave. That's most common in most markets, especially markets like the Forex markets, the stock markets, etc. In commodities, however, like gold or oil or wheat, etc., corn, normally you'll see that the markets, wave 5 is the extended wave. And I noticed at times this is quite common with cryptocurrency as well, mainly because of the raw emotions, fear of missing out, panic buying. And this is potential just pure panic buying coming towards the end of a trend. There's some positive news. Is this just pure panic buying before we're going to see a movement to the downside? So what I'm going to stand aside and wait for is be very alert on how big these movements to the downsides were. I want to see something called an overbalance of price, meaning a bigger move to the downside than any of these. And this might have occurred already or is close to occurring. I'd like to see a big move to the downside, some type of pullback, and then look to short if this occurs. Now, if we do get a continuation to the upside, then we just need to reevaluate. One of the most powerful things that I'm using at the moment is the trend identifier dashboard. And what this tells us, and it's been quite a few weeks now, I think at least 2 weeks, the daily momentum is strong overbought, meaning that the upside is limited. Now, we've had some good upside movement, but it's been overbought. So we're waiting for a reversal to the downside. The 4-hour is also bearish as well, but today is CPI. So I don't want to trade on today because it's a very volatile day and the price is going to more than likely react whatever the outcome of CPI. But what I would like to see again is really, because we might get another move to the upside, but I would like to see some type of big move to the downside, bigger than any prior move over the last couple of weeks. Then look for a correction, and then look to short the market or just reevaluate. We can reevaluate and see how the price acts, because the most powerful indicator is actually price itself. So if you want to test out the dashboard, is £1 30 days. Test it out. It's really, really powerful, but it's not a standalone tool. It's really in conjunction with your strategy, whether you're using different patterns. I personally use Elliott waves and Fibonacci price, but it's a very powerful extra confluence of events to stack the odds in your favor. This is in the link below. It will just take your trading to the next level. So if you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Let's keep a very close eye on Bitcoin, because it is almost like a macro indicator for the rest of the crypto market as well. Everything tends to move in a macro kind of perspective in line with Bitcoin. So if we do get a movement to the downside, we're probably going to see it last for at least a few weeks, if not a few months, and then we can reevaluate to see what is the larger degree, high probability outcome. Let's finish on a quote. I normally read a quote from my book, but what we're going to do is go with a quote. We're going to go with this one. Beneath every success is a mountain of necessary failure. And failure is the secret ingredient to success. And if you can digest that and get comfortable with that, all of a sudden you will learn much faster. And knowing when it comes to trading the markets, we can only get the edge in our favor. We have control over how much we're willing to risk to find out if we're right. We have control over our trade management strategies. But what the market ultimately does, we have no control over. So therefore, we just need to be the casino and just be consistent over the long run.